Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Rozanski versus Okolie fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Rozanski is 15-0 with 14 KOs and Okolie is 19-1 with 14 KOs. This fight is for the WBC World Bridgerweight title. Rozanski's last fight was a win via TKO in round 1 versus Babic, and Okolie's last fight was a loss via majority decision versus Billam Smith. Rozanski is 38 and Okolie is 31. Okolie is 6'5" with an 82.5-inch reach, and Rozanski is 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. This fight is in Rozanski's home country of Poland, and to speak a bit more about what I've just been saying, obviously now this is a Bridgerweight title fight. Rozanski is the seemingly biggest name around in the Bridgerweight division at the moment, which not entirely sure how much of a flex that is, but I mean, nonetheless, he came off that impressive victory versus Babic, where Babic was at a point in his career where he was looking impressive and he was getting good stoppage wins, and he was the face of that Bridgerweight division. And so for him to win in first round stoppage in the emphatic fashion that he did caught a lot of people off guard, and it was a very impressive victory for him, and it has now cemented, you know, a bit of a name for himself, and now has gotten himself this fight, which is a big deal for him, to be completely honest. It has to be. I mean, it's a main event fight again, like the Babic one was, and it's another boxer's show, and obviously it's bringing eyes to his home country of Poland, and Okolie now moving up into the Bridgerweight division from his, you know, quite bad loss, in my opinion, performance-wise versus Billam Smith. He was quite lucky to get a majority decision. It should have been unanimous, like, in my opinion, quite clearly. It was very messy. It was Okolie really not looking good at all, and really just not letting any kind of momentum of the fight actually progress in general. And you know, now he's moving up in weight. It's Bridgerweight is an interesting weight at the moment. There's nobody really that interesting going on, or not too much that interesting going on. Not entirely sure the actual main reason as to why to have this weight class, but nonetheless we have it. I think there's also, you know, now super cruiserweight as well, but that's a whole nother thing. And it's going to be intriguing to see. Okolie, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him to deliver in this fight. Obviously, he did build himself a name with Matchroom and was winning impressively with Matchroom, and then moved over to Sky and Boxer, and then obviously he got the David Light victory, which was an alright win. It was really not anything too impressive, and even then he didn't look his best. And then to obviously lose in, like I said, quite a bad performance-wise fashion, he's not really been doing the best and really living up to that potential that he once had. And you know, now he's moved teams, got a new coach, gone to Gallagher's gym, a very well-renowned gym. You know, that could bring a new element and a new aspect to his game, and I'm hoping that it does, because he can be an entertaining fighter, and I would like to see him show some skill that he has. But you know, so far, coming off that last performance, it was a really poor performance. And obviously Rozanski, being the much older fighter, he's had this success later on in his career, but the style in which he does have, which I'm going to speak more about in a moment, is not really that of a youthful type style, I suppose. It is very just rugged and Warwick and War type style, which sometimes you often see with these older type fighters. But he does seem to want to give his all, which I always respect. And he's never gone the actual 4-round distance, bar the one time, and that was back when he was fighting for 4-rounders. So he's not actually had to experience later rounds. So if Okolie can manage to bring him into the later rounds, then we'll have to wait and see how he deals with that. But Rozanski, obviously, as the much smaller fighter, he is used to being able to kind of get himself in range and force himself in range. And so it's going to be intriguing to see if Okolie can work off his jab, which he can do sometimes, and that's when he is a lot of the time doing some of his best work. To speak about them both as fighters, Rozanski has that powerful, aggressive nature in him, and he definitely does carry power. And when he is putting absolutely every part of his body into his shots, he's definitely going to be throwing with that aggressive power. He is in your face, close range, lets his hands go, pairs up his shots quite nicely. Sometimes he will triple up his shots quite nicely, and that's something which is an attribute which I like to see when fighters have, and when they have that aggressive nature and they're willing to, you know, triple up their shots at times, even if they are just the same shot, because many times opponents aren't expecting you to go bang, bang, bang with a shot, if that makes sense. And so, you know, it's nice to see when Rozanski does that. He's got that punch resistance. I believe he has been dropped before, but he has got a level of punch resistance in him, and Okolie has his own power as well, so it's going to be intriguing to see how much punch resistance he'll have to actually take Rozanski. He's hard to get off you. He moves you around. He's very physical in his work, and he moves you around. He controls the pace a lot of the time. He's got solid timing when he gets you hurt, and he's a good finisher in the process. And like I say, he's not really bothered about height or closing the distance. He's good at closing the distance, closing the range, and getting in close and getting off the work that he wants to get off. The negatives about him, I mean, in general, he has a lack of defence. There's not really anything defensive-wise about his game. I mean, a low guard a lot of the time, jumping into shots, rushing in a lot of the time, and not having any defensive movement whatsoever. So there is a clear lack of a defence. He's there to be hit, like I say, a low guard, quite slow to be completely fair. I mean, he can be, when he's jumping into shots, then sometimes there's a little bit of speed there, but a lot of the time he is quite slow. His accuracy isn't always the best. He can, convey a messy technique a lot of the time. He can fight dirty. I've seen there was one knockout which I've seen from him where he literally blatantly just punched a guy when he was on the floor and then managed to win off of that. So he can fight dirty, and Okolie is being known to maybe not fight dirty, but he has been getting regular point deductions, so he has been known to not always be fighting the cleanest of fights. He can headhunt. Rozanski is, like I say, not been all around, so I don't know how good his conditioning actually is. He seems to give out a lot of early pressure and is a fast starter, and I just don't necessarily know if Okolie does tie him up and bring him into the later rounds, how he'll be able to deal with that. He crosses his feet. He doesn't really set up his shots at all really that much, and so in general there's clear weaknesses in his game. Speak about Okolie as a fighter, he's I would say relatively used to now being the away fighter. I mean, before the Bellum Smith fight he was the continuous home fighter, and I give him full credit to go to Bellum Smith's hometown in Bournemouth and go into his football ground and that big fight for him, and I have full credit for him for doing that. And so now he has that a little bit of experience of being the away fighter, and I'm sure it was quite a hostile crowd in there for him, and so now he's going to have to deal with a Polish crowd, which is, I'm sure, going to add another possible hostile element as well. He is good when, like I say, he works behind his jab, and he can set up his shots relatively nicely when he does that with them good straight shots that he does possess. He has power. He can frustrate when he is, tying you up. He can frustrate you, and he can weather a storm in the process as well. And I mean, he got dropped multiple times against Bellum Smith, 3 times from what I can remember, and he managed to weather that storm and managed to get to the end, so he can show that he can weather a storm. He offers physical pressure as well, so it's going to be intriguing to see who's the one that's going to be on the front foot, offering the more physicality out of the two, and how they deal with their counteractive physical styles. He's willing to let his hands go, he can push you back, and I'd say when he actually does gain confidence and gain a bit of a rhythm, then he does offer out good work, and he can sometimes, even in close, offer good work. It's just when he does have to gain confidence and see that you're not really giving anything back. Negatives about him, he does smother work very badly. He smothers work, and it's just unnecessary some of the time, and he does kind of resort to just going in and clinching a lot of the time, and it's just messy and it's not really too nice to see. I understand clinching at times, like I say, to weather storms, but sometimes it's just not really nice to see, and it was unnecessary the amount of time he was doing it against Bellum Smith. And if even with this new coach, if things go badly for him, is he just going to resort back to this old way of just going in and clinching and tying up and hoping for the best in that aspect? I hope not, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, this is a new weight for him, so Rozanski, the one that's been at the weight for longer, he might have that added perhaps strength there, but I don't necessarily know if the weight's been the problem. He obviously is coming off a loss. How's that going to have affected him mentally? He can leave his punches out a lot of the time, just stretch them out, and when he just stretches that jab out, that's how he got caught with the shot the first time that Bellum Smith dropped him, by just leaving his punches out and not protecting himself in the process. He can duck his head down. He doesn't keep range as well as what he should do and what he can do. His accuracy isn't always amazing. His timing isn't always amazing either. His head's on the line a lot. He can lunge in, he can head hunt. Sometimes he doesn't head hunt and he does go to the body, and that's when it's nice, it's good clean work, like I say, when he has that confidence about him. But a lot of the time it can just be head hunting on the back foot. I think on the back foot in general, if he's planted his feet, then his balance can be poor on the back foot and he just looks like he doesn't necessarily want to be there, and that's when he also can just kind of push out his shots even more. He does have quite wide hooks, so you can see them from a distance away. I don't necessarily know if Rozanski is going to be somebody who's slipping these type of shots, but you might be able to see them. And he does, of course, like I say, lose points regularly in fights now, so it's not really a necessarily good trait to have, to just be continuously losing points every single fight. Okolie is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Rozanski is going to win via TKO in round 3. It's a bold statement to say. I just think he's going to be able to do it. I think if he can put it on Okolie early on, possibly hurt him in the first round, then Okolie ties up for a couple rounds, survives a couple rounds, then possibly gets dropped and then dropped again, and then that's why I think he could then do his work and be able to get him stopped, because I just don't necessarily know if the mental toughness is there and if Okolie is going to be able to keep Rozanski off of him. And Rozanski does relatively good work. He can find angles on the inside as well, and so I just think he's going to be in his face too much, and Okolie's just not really going to be too sure what to do, and he's just not going to be wanting to be in there for too much longer. And yeah, it's a shame, but that's just how I think it's going to go. Yeah, like I say, it's a shame for a British fighter to be like that, but like I said, I don't necessarily know from recent performances what I've seen for him to be able to really go out there and win, but I'd like him to go out there and put on a good performance, so hopefully he does go and do that. Then, who I think, if Rozanski does win in that fashion, who he can then go on to fight. I'm just kind of looking around the Bridgeweight division at the moment and who actually is classed as being ranked. It's like WBC rankings only at the moment. Lorena is ranked 2nd. He's coming off the loss versus Huni. Tabiti is somebody who's also ranked around as well, and I think he also has a loss to Huni, so possibly one of them two could be a fight. I mean, Lorena put up a good fight versus Huni and got him hurt in the latter stages of the fight, so you never know. Or another option, which I wouldn't be too opposed, is Okolie. I mean, obviously heavyweight, so I'd imagine Rozanski would have to move up, but with Boxer, that could make for a good fight and possibly build a bit more of a brand for Okolie, as he doesn't really seem to be getting too many opportunities at the moment, and so you never know, that could be a fight that could be made. I thought I might as well mention it. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did, indeed like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.